How's it going, everybody? I want to talk about a topic today about how Johns Hopkins University did DNA studies on the people residing in Israel that call themselves Jews, the so-called Sephardic and Ashkenazi Jewish people. DNA test has proven that literally none of them are related to the ancient biblical Israelites. They have no ties to Palestine and Israel. They come from the Europe or Ukraine and Russia area that used to be called ancient Khazaria. Yes, they are called Khazars. And scriptures tell us that the Ashkenazi actually come from the children of Japheth. They are not Shemites. And we have DNA proof now that shows that they are not Israelites, and the whole world has been deceived into believing that those people are. But guess what? DNA studies do show that the Palestinians that are being genocided and murdered and called terrorists because they are just simply trying to survive actually are descendants of the ancient Hebrew Israelites. Yes, DNA study shows that they are very closely related, like 80% related to the ancient Hebrew Israelites. They are the remnant left over after the Romans ransacked everything. They have been there since then, and they have mixed in with Muslim nations, but they still are the descendants of Israel. They are part of the remnant. I always wondered why the people hated the poor Palestinians so bad and wanted to murder and genocide every one of them and kill them, just like what happened to the transatlantic slave trade when the real Jews were enslaved and their identity was stolen. They trying to get rid of this remnant also. Anyway, I thought y'all should see it for yourselves. Y'all check out these videos and understand that this is all entertainment purposes. So have a wonderful, blessed night and enjoy this show. Shalom.
You're not allowed to have a DNA test in Israel. There are Chinese Jews. I've met them. There are Vietnamese Jews. I've met them. They're not native to the land of Palestine. There are African Jews. They're not native to the land of Palestine either. There are Ashkenazi Jews who are entirely European in their DNA. That's why you're not allowed to have a DNA test in Israel, because it will reveal that virtually none of them are Semitic. Virtually none of them have any ancestral connection to the land. I was viciously assaulted by a manager in the BBC who had recently converted to Judaism. It's fine. I love all religions. But you can't say I've now converted to Judaism and therefore I have a right to go to the land of Palestine and live in the house of someone whose ancestors have been living in it for thousands of years. Again,
breaking news. It looks like there was a study done in September of 2022. This is how far back this conflict goes. We obviously know that it's been like a big thing since 1948. But a recent study was done in 2022, about 2 years ago. Sorry, my brain is still processing 2022 as last year. Where Johns Hopkins University genetic study shows that 97.5% of Judaics living in Israel have absolutely no ancient Hebrew DNA, are therefore not Semites, and have no ancient blood ties to the land of Palestine at all. Whereas 80% of Palestinians carry ancient Hebrew DNA, thus are the real Semites. Not your own institution proving that you are indeed a liar, Israel. Not your own scientific institution proving that you are in fact a liar and that you have no claim to that land. Oh! Oh, these jokes, they write themselves at this point. Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel doesn't exist. Israel doesn't exist. It's not a real place. Never has. Never has. We only notice Palestinians. because those are the real Semites. So now that we have that information, being anti-Semitic is any of the Jews that claim to have part of that land. You're anti-Semitic because that's not your land. You have no right to that land. It does not belong to you. Go back to Germany where you came from because you're not the real Jews and you're not the real Semites. You have no Hebrew DNA whatsoever. And John Hopkins, an accredited institution, proved it. So again, America, let's go ahead and say it one more time. Zionism is not real. Israel is not real. Israelites are not real. Only the Palestinians are the real Hebrews. Lock me up. Throw in a key, baby. Science proved it. Science proved it.
Genetic studies confirm that modern-day Palestinians descend from the earliest hunter-gatherer and farmer populations that inhabited the Levant region over 10,000 years ago. Other Bronze and Iron Age civilizations that emerged in the region, like the Canaanites, Phoenicians, Israelites and Philistines, also left genetic imprints in today's Palestinian gene pool. Study published in the journal Cell focused on the DNA of ancient Philistines. The results suggested that Palestinians descend in part from the ancient Philistines who lived in the same region over 3,000 years ago. The study received some criticism, but overall provided new genetic insights into the ancestors of modern populations in the Levant region. For instance, Jews exhibit more European genetic ancestry in their paternal lineages, likely due to European male converts integrating into Jewish communities. On the other hand, Palestinians show a greater mix of Egyptian, Arabian, and sub-Saharan African genes, reflecting the historical movements and interactions within the Levant region.
Do you accept, Dan, that you are just blatantly anti-Semitic?
Look, I have an issue with that term. I mean, I think the real Semites are the Palestinians. I mean, the DNA tests that they've done on the Israelis that are living over there, they're Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews. I don't even think they're actual Semites. They don't have ancient Hebrew DNA, which is why DNA testing is illegal in Israel.
These are the same people who are the descendants of the ancient Hebrews. It's their land that they want to keep. They were the ones who were there first. They're the ones being cleansed from their land by the Israelis. They were living there all along. For generations back into antiquity, when a bunch of Russians and Lithuanians and Germans and New Yorkers showed up and said the land belonged to them. The actual source is David Ben-Gurion himself.
You're saying that Muslims always
had been there. That's right, because here's why. Because when the Muslims came and took over that land, they did not cleanse the land of the people who lived there. And they did not invade it with a giant occupying force to replace them. All they did was take them over and tax them. And then the deal was, if you convert to Islam, you get a tax cut. Basically, you pay less. And the local people all converted to Islam. But so these are the same people who are the descendants of the ancient Hebrews. And the source for this is David Ben-Gurion himself. Ben-Gurion says the ancient Hebrews never left. So you can't take a farmer from his soil. They were there the whole time. And so what was happening was the descendants of the ancient Hebrews who had stayed in Palestine were being replaced by the descendants of the ancient Hebrews who'd gone off to Europe, and then their descendants came home. As though there's no statute of limitations, and 3,000 years later you can come and say, this is my land, you can't live here.
I would bet you if you did a DNA test for all the Palestinians and a DNA test for all the Israelis, the Palestinians have more actual genetic ties to that landmass than the Israelis, who are mostly Eastern European. This is every prime minister of Israel. First one, David Gurion, real name David Grun, born in Poland. Next one, Mashi Sheret, real name Mashi Shurtok, born in Ukraine. Then Levi Eshkol, real name Levi Shkolanik, born in Ukraine. Next one, Yigal Alon, real name Yigal Paikovich. Next one, Golda Meir, real name Golda Mabovich, born in Ukraine. Next one, Manichin Begin, real name Mazi Chekslaw Begum, born in Ukraine. So I can go on and on and on. Almost every single one of them has a fake name, and nearly every single one of them is actually from Eastern Europe. Even Netanyahu's real name is Milakovsky.
So what happened to Palestinian DNA? Well, this is my dad's one. His name's Johnny. So he got 99% from the Levant. And this is how they've broken it down. So they've put some of his DNA in Gaza, and then they've put some of his DNA in Lebanon. So they've put it down the bottom of Lebanon though, so near the border, to avoid actually putting my dad on this side of the border, where he's actually from. Even the Lebanon-Damascus category is down here, near the border. Now, about a year ago, they just gave him Western Levant. They didn't give him Lebanon. So they've put Southern Lebanon and Damascus, Israel, Palestine, Beirut and Damascus as the subgroups of West Levant. But that just means west of the Jordan River, because Lebanon was a separate subgroup. Because if you look at how mine used to look, I had North Lebanon and Mount Lebanon, and then I had Western Levant separately. I got the Western Levant from my dad, and I got the Lebanon from my mum, because she's Lebanese. Now, if we go to my true ancestry, he's got 71% from Canaanites, and about 17% is Amorite, which were the enemies of the Israelites. And then he's got some Aramean and Phoenician DNA there, like just a little bit up there. But yeah, the bulk of his DNA is from Palestine. For closest modern day genetic matches, they've given him Druze, Lebanese Christians, Samaritans, Samaritan Levi tribe, Samaritan Ephraim tribe, Samaritan Manasseh tribe, and Jewish Syrian. So he's got enough Samaritan in there to prove that he's from Samaria. And he's a Palestinian, because we're not Samaritans by religion. That's just obviously where my ancestors converted to Christianity, like somewhere around there in the Galilee. Yeah. So they've erased the Palestinians because they can't put Israeli on there, because, as you know, Israel is not an ethnicity, because a Russian, Polish, German is not an Ethiopian, Ugandan. Yeah. Or a Moroccan, or an Irani, or an Iraqi. So, just to save their feelings, I guess. Anyway, so that's what's happened with the Palestinian DNA. And I'm seeing a lot of content from Zios on TikTok and on Facebook about Palestinians don't come up in DNA tests because they're not an ethnicity. Well, actually we are. And when you erase Palestinian ethnicity and identity, you are not just erasing us. You are also erasing Christianity, its origins, where it came from, and the first followers of Jesus Christ and the history of Christianity from Palestine. So if you're a Christian, this is actually erasing your Christian history too. Yep. So you got Jude.
How's it going, everybody? If you made it this far, well, I sure appreciate you, and I hope y'all got some good edification and some more truth on who those people are in Israel that are claiming to be Jews that are not, and who the Palestinians actually are, going by DNA testing and, at this point, logic and common sense. Anyway, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I will be putting more content out here in the future. Please don't forget to check in on me. Have a wonderful, blessed everyday. Shalom.